And hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. In 1988, a musical force of nature simply exploded out of Lagos, Nigeria, on the clear road to becoming one of reggae's hottest prospects on the planet. In terms of natural endowment, he literally had it all. He was blessed with an angelic voice, effervescent personality, movie star good looks, and exceptional guitar skills. Imagine a Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, and Denzel Washington all rolled into one person. And what you get is the phenomenal Majek Fashek, aka the Rainmaker, a Rastafarian firebrand hitmaker that electrified audiences at live concerts as he would arrive at his sold-out shows, dressed in his trademark shorts and army boots with his guitar strapped to his body and a bell in his hand, which he would ring before he would begin his shows, chanting loudly, "Repent, for the kingdom of Jah is at hand." He acquired a cult-like following and the nickname Rainmaker because each time he sang his biggest song, heavy rainfall would literally pour out of the sky, even in the dry seasons. And to add to the hysteria around this man was a very popular rumor that he was the African son of the late Bob Marley. As a kid, I remember overhearing people saying the Top Gun had him through a Nigerian woman that he dated in the UK in the late 1960s. With a voice that sounded a lot like Bob's and a very slight resemblance, these rumors would spread like wildfire in those days before the internet. After his incredible emergence at the end of the 80s, he swiftly blew into global recognition after he was signed by an international label and would share stages with the biggest A-list artists of those times. And he was set to truly become one of the all-time reggae icons when his ascendance was stopped and ultimately derailed by a myriad of factors that included bereavement, poor management, and the monster of drug abuse. And his story would end up as one of the landmark examples of unrealized potential. Let's take a look at the story of Majek Fashek. He was born Majek Fashek on 6th of March 1963 in the ancient city of Benin in Nigeria. His parents separated when he was very young, and he would grow up with his mother, who was a member of a Nigerian church order called the Cherubim and Seraphim, a group that wore white garments to church and were very big on worship with drums and percussions, very similar to the Pocomania churches in Jamaica. Young Majek showed a massive musical IQ and would join the church choir, where he played the maracas and very quickly became an ace on the trumpets and guitar. After leaving high school, his passion for music led him to form a group with his cousin Amos McRoy and their friend Black O'Rice that became known as the Jastics, and in no time quickly became the hottest band in their city and earned a living as the in-house band on a TV show at their local TV station NTA. In search of opportunities, the band moved to Nigeria's capital of Lagos in the mid-1980s, where they hustled as studio session instrumentalists. But after a few years of disappointments, the band collapsed in 1987, with each man going his own way to find a way to survive. So Majek got a job as an artist promotion manager at a record label called Tabansi Records. But while he was there, he would impress the label's owner with his singing voice that sounded exactly like Bob Marley's, not to mention his awesome guitar skills. Tabansi Records signed him up quickly and put him in the studio with ace producer Lemmy Jackson. And the result was his incredible debut album, Prisoner of Conscience, that was named in honor of a then imprisoned Nelson Mandela. A 9-track scorcher that showcased Majek's exquisite voice with an uncanny resemblance to Bob Marley's. It featured an upbeat cover of Redemption Song, as well as wonderful tracks like Genesis and the absolute monster hits Send Down the Rain, a classic inspirational tune about times and seasons as well as the law of sowing and reaping. And that song made him a mythical figure because every time he performed it on stage, it would start raining from nowhere. Even though tracking album sales in Africa was very difficult in the 80s and 90s due to out-of-control piracy, the album Prisoner of Conscience is estimated to have sold at least 1 million copies in both vinyl and cassette formats. Majek Fashek became a phenomenon in Nigeria as well as the entire continent. After releasing his second album, I Experience, in 1989, Majek would fall out with his label Tabansi Records, and it seemed like the feud would derail his rise. But his heroics had caught the attention of US record label CBS Records. They bought out his contracts and would reissue the I Experience album in 1990. He was a bona fide superstar who was being tipped and expected to surpass even Africa's biggest artists like Fela Kuti and Alpha Blondy in no time. And that year, he would embark on his first tour of the US, during which he would amass a huge following with his unique blend of traditional reggae rhythms and an African percussion-based sound, which he called Bangolo. But while that tour would open incredible doors for him, it also opened the floodgates for the vices that follow superstardom. In very simple terms, Majek Fashek, who never drank alcohol in his life or used drugs, except maybe for herb every now and then, began to party really hard. His cousin and ex-bandmate Amos McRoy would notice the change in Majek and advised him to go back to Nigeria and not stay back in the US once the tour was over. But by then, he was hot property and was soon signed up by the then newly formed Interscope Records. And he would within a year release his next album, So Long Too Long, which came out in 1991. Arguably his biggest international hit, with the title track So Long Too Long and Majek Fashek in New York as the album's biggest singles. And to promote the album, he put in a memorable performance on the popular US TV show Late Night with David Letterman in early 1992. But amidst all these incredible breakthroughs, he got sad news from Nigeria that his dear mother had just passed away. And people close to him in those days say he was devastated and slipped into chronic depression that pushed him even further into alcohol and substances. From the very friendly, religious, bright-eyed Rasta man and serious musician, he began to live the rock star lifestyle, and it slowly but surely would affect his showmanship and artistry. And it got so bad that he was unable to settle down and record another album for Interscope, and this forced the label to drop him 2 years later. His substance abuse issues would spiral out of control and kept him from going back into the studio until 1997, when he put out the album Rainmaker, a very solid reggae rock hybrid album by any standards. But by then, his addictions had damaged his health and ability to perform. He was in very bad shape when he returned to Nigeria by the year 2000, with a view to going back to his roots and hopefully making a comeback. And when he got back, family, friends and fans who hadn't seen him in years were all shocked that he was no longer the handsome, vibrant entertainer who had set the entire continent ablaze a decade earlier. But he was still one of the most loved artists and commanded plenty of goodwill, and he would get massive support and encouragement as he began to work on what was built to be his comeback album titled Little Patience, which came out eventually in 2004. And the album was a reasonable success with a powerful message that seemed to be telling his own life story. But despite its promise and a strong reception from the fans, it wouldn't result in a comeback. All the years of substance abuse had ruined his body and his voice, and he would suffer terrible health challenges and scares over the years, with rumors of his death circulating several times, only to be debunked by his media team. But sadly, on the 1st of June 2020, the world for the last time got the terrible news that the Rainmaker was no more and had passed away in New York City at the age of 57 after a battle with cancer. A tragic ending to one of the most naturally gifted artists to ever emerge from Africa. I have no doubt that he would have been as big, if not bigger, than Alpha Blondy or Lucky Dube if he hadn't fallen to the evil trap of drug abuse. But ultimately, despite the sad ending to his amazing emergence and story, the great Majek Fashek was one of the greatest artists to emerge from the continent, and truly an unforgettable icon of reggae and indeed world music. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.